It's a poison. That doesn't help the stress level. No, don't do it. Get a grip. This stupid video I just showed you. I almost stroked out and died over it. You're watching a different show. It's donkey. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome back, folks, to a Johnny Boy almost gets blown away by a legitimately large tornado. And we're going to go over the story because since I posted the picture on Twitter or whatever, a bunch of people want to hear it. And quite frankly, in the middle of the off season or something, it's kind of fun to have something like people tend to like when I yell or go over anything not Notre Dame because we're so used to that. People know me so well now. You know what my Notre Dame angles are pretty much going to be on whatever happens. So now people want to hear about the tornado. This was a legitimately large, destructive tornado. This was not the typical little somebody in the country sees a cloud rotating, turn the sirens on. Like, this was a legitimately large, scary tornado that did a lot of damage. We're still trying to figure out in this little town, in this little county, you know, an hour south of Chicago, right on the Indiana border. So I'm going to go over kind of what happened with that because it was a wild, weird night. And you know how I know that? I feel a little worn out this morning from the stress of like, is this tornado going to hit us? And then when we realized it hit other parts of town and leveled the houses, it was like, check on your people, make sure everybody's okay. A lot of people I know, their house is gone, flattened, gone, absolutely gone on the other side of town. And so we're going to go over some of that. Brian Kelly finally speaks after his LSU ouster. I'm not hitting that hard today. I'm not, because a part of my plan last night was to record a video about the stuff Kelly said and how it made no sense and exposed him even further. And then we got all the tornadoes and everything, and I was busy with that. I didn't have time to sit here. So I'm probably going to put a video out on that tomorrow. And if anybody wants to talk about it Friday, we'll do that then. So I got some tornado stuff. Then I want to go over Notre Dame, some of the hype with different parts of this program, and see whether we think it's the real deal or if it's just hype. And there's some, with everything in Notre Dame land, there's some nuance here. There's some nuance here when I go over, is this hype or is this real? So I want to go over that too. So, and then I'm going to go, I guess my high school got destroyed. I'm going to go over there. I'll probably end a little early, go over there and see what's cracking at the old high school. I heard it's school's canceled the rest of the year, and the building is, the roof's gone, all the windows are shattered. So I'm going to go over to the old school, check it out, see what's going on. But legitimately large tornado. Yeah, Pat, I got a bunch of messages this morning that all the windows are shattered and the roof's gone. So I don't know. That's like 3 minutes from my house to get over there. So I'm going to go check it out. I don't know what's real or not. There's a lot of rumors of people passing away at the junior college when they got hit on the other side of town. I don't know whether that's true or not. I saw that it is, and we're gonna have to see what happens. But this was the real deal. We don't get a lot like that here. In the 60s, there was a tornado this big or bigger that did a lot of damage when my dad was a kid, but we don't get a lot of this stuff. So it was the real deal. Yeah, it's so I don't know. I'm not believing the social media stuff. The sheriff, good basketball referee, by the way, the sheriff of the county is saying that he's not reporting anybody passing away. But I know wife works at the hospital and they were on triage, like emergency. They got a protocol when it's like a what do you call it? I don't know. You call your town a disaster zone or something. There's like a protocol for that triage when you don't know whether a bunch of people are going to come in injured all at the same time. Both the local hospitals had all their doctors and nurses on triage standby. This was the real deal. So I'm going to go over it. This was the closest I've been to a tornado this big. And there's some really interesting, like, things you see from the movies that happened or didn't happen, and like just the whole nature of it. So let's just have a little fun with it. Why not? God bless the people who lost their houses. Hopefully everybody's physically okay. We'll find more out today. But like, man, this is a small town. Like when something hits, it's a big deal. Like this is kind of wild for this area. So thanks for being here. You can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up. Notifications on that way you don't miss nothing. Twitter, search bar, always Irish rat, always Irish shake. Emails, always irishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want it, you can get it. If Spotify works, you can get it there. Notre Dame on that side, you can read off on it. Patreon.com/always Irish. Tell you this right now. We're gaining some serious party momentum. Blue and gold tailgate's going to be rocking. I'm confident saying we're going to have the largest group there doing it. Credit to Pat Cotter on this, by the way. Credit to Pat Cotter on this. Pat's the first one that was like, dude, why don't you just host a blue and gold tailgate? People would love to drink beer and just shoot the shit with us in a parking lot. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if we have that kind of weight. Like, what if nobody shows up? Pat's like, then I guess my family and your family are going to sit there and drink beer and go in. Who cares, right? Still, Pat's the one who started this idea of like, you should have a tailgate. I think people would like to party and come with us. And everyone has grown. Blue and gold's going to be big. I'm going to tell you this. Rice. The Rice tailgate has a different meaning now with Lou's passing. The Rice game was, oh, it's a lower level game nobody cares about. Warm weather still, we'll just do it then. And then the Miami want to be the heavy hitting one where I'm anxiety riddled all day. With Lou's passing, the Rice game just became gotta see it, want to be there for it. Because it's the first home game since Lou passed. So I'm certain they're going to do something big to honor him, and a lot of people are going to want to be there. So the right kind of Langus Rice, the kind of Langus Rice, the Rice tailgate is now going to be a big deal. And then comes Miami. And that's the big one. I talked to Maddie, my connection with the Orange County Club. We're doing it bigger than we did last year, and we are hosting a big old tailgate for this Miami game. So, telling you, we're ready to rock. We're ready to rock. All you guys, I want you to be there. Everybody's invited. But Pat's the one who put that idea in my head of like, dude, you should just have a tailgate. People show up and want to drink a beer with you and run their mouth. And it's grown. So thanks to everybody who's been there, everybody who's helped, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I always say this, I'm going to say it again. You know, Pat was helping me set all this up. Obviously, Pat's going to be there. And Rudy, the immediate like family crew to me. Phil's here this morning. Phil and his family were like the first people that came up to the first one that were like not on the inside of the planning circle. And I'll always remember like the feeling I had of the first group of people that like I didn't know personally, but only from the internet that showed up. And I'll love Phil and his family forever just for being that. So I love you guys. So these are going to be awesome, and we're going to be bouncing. So we're doing it bigger, everyone bigger than the one before. That's how you know you're doing things right. Okay. So that's the deal with that. Okay. Quickly, Jared's in my area. He probably wants to talk about tornado too. Let me go over it from my perspective of the day real quick. And then we'll get into you guys. We'll talk some football too. Okay. So here's the deal. Like, what's Ken saying? Now that you say, since ND's doing something big for Lou, wouldn't you think it'd be the best that I come for Rice and not Miami? Kent, number one is I know you're messing with us and you ain't showing up in South Bend. But number two is Rice is still Rice, though. There's going to be extra juice to see them honor Lou, but it isn't going to be the feel on campus of Miami. Rice is going to be more a little like an undertone of sorrow because you know you're kind of honoring Lou and all that. There's going to be an undercurrent of that, and the opponent doesn't excite anybody. If you want to feel Notre Dame's campus for a big game moment and feel what that's like, that's Miami. It ain't Conolangus Rice. You guys are cracking me up today. You guys are funny. Oh, let's do a chat. $2 holler for the commander. Here's to riding the storm out in 2026. I like that. Way to combine. I'll tell you, with the weather and then this. Okay, let's get into this. And I'm going to show a picture of the tornado once it was by us in a field where it went by. I'll show you that picture, and with it, 2 pieces of tornado culture. When I show this picture, 2 pieces of tornado culture. And I want to challenge you guys in the chat. I want to see who's the first one to get both pieces of it, because it would show you grew up like me with the entertainment you partaked in. If you get both of these tornado references I'm going to show that are from opposite worlds of the spectrum, let's see who's on the ball to get both of these. Risotto is fire. Bro, the only thing, what is risotto? The only thing I know about risotto is when Gordon Ramsay was cursing out all of those slaves he had in his kitchen about burning the risotto, but I have no idea what risotto is. Is he any relation to Rizzuto for Billy Madison? Or what? I don't know what risotto is. Is it like rice soup? I think it involves rice, but I have no idea what risotto is. I think it's like rice soup. But that's all I know about that was when Gordon Ramsay was calling all these people donkeys and stuff. You know what else I always think about? You know that John Tapper that does bar rescue, and he walks in and yells at everybody and shuts it all down, and he threatens all the employees that they're all going to be fired and everything. You know what I've always thought? Bro, if I'm working at some dumpy mom and pop local spot bar and this guy comes in here trying to fire me or whatever, I don't get paid enough to deal with this. Just do it and I'll go work at another crappy bar down the street. I've never understood that. There's no way anybody working at any of those dumps with the bad management they have is making that much money. And then you got this guy coming in there screaming at me about like you should all be fired. I'll just go work down the street at the other dumpy bar, man. I don't need this for $7 an hour plus tips, bro. I don't need it. I don't need it. Because they want to be on TV. Who wants to be on TV looking bad, though? Who wants to be on TV for something that makes you look poor and stupid? Because that's all he does. I've always wondered this. Did you have to sign off to be on Cops? Did they like pay people's bail money if you agree to be on Cops at like the most embarrassing moment of your life? I've always wondered that. Was that like now they have body camera footage on YouTube where they just show the feeds of everything that happens. But back then, before the body camera, they literally had somebody running around with the camera recording them chasing all these bad guys. By the way, so I just wonder, did you have to sign a waiver to be embarrassed on national TV on Cops or what? Or is that just if you're arrested, you're going on TV? I'm telling you this, man. The Cops show theme song might be one of the most fitting, one of the best ones of all time. Like, find me a song that matches the title of the show and everything better than that, dude. Like, I used to get hyped for Cops. That was legit, bro. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Sheriff John Brown's coming for you, baby. Man, I love that show. You just wonder, how do these people find themselves in these situations? That's what you say. How did these people in their life end up at the point where this is what's going on? Yes, they are supposed to give their consent to be on Cops. Unless you're paying my bail money, who's doing that? Unless I get some financial for being embarrassed and humiliated publicly. What kind of stopped Cops, Kent saying, yeah, one of their guys got in, a cameraman got hit. That's rough. I do remember when they canceled that show. They still got reruns somewhere. Anyways, all right, this tornado. Here's the setup for this tornado, okay? This storm was heavily predicted. Okay? Pat's saying they don't see it that way. They get to see themselves on TV. Well, then maybe that explains the mentality of why we ended up in that position to begin with. Anyways, so this tornado area here, this was all predicted. Usually it's like the day of, there's humidity and they're like, oh, a storm might blow up. This was like a full 24 hours ahead of time. Everybody knew about it. And it was like, this is not like if, it's like, it's going to happen. So that was, yeah, the Weather Channel was live from Kankakee County last night. This was a legitimately big tornado. We're not used to this. So we had plenty of warning. And it was different. It wasn't like maybe. It was like, we're pretty sure this is going to be bad right in this area. So everybody knew about it. And like a full day ahead, which is kind of rare. Here's the thing. We had my daughter's gymnastics class at 4:00. Okay, 4:00. This is right when those storms are brewing up, usually moving west to east, across Illinois to us, and then crossing into Adam Dowling's neighborhood in Indiana, right? Hitting Phil over there in Indiana. So we got gymnastics at 4:00. And I'm sitting there saying to the wife, the absolute worst place in this whole area we could possibly be is in a tin roof gym with 100-foot tall ceilings. Like literally the worst place we could be during this storm is in that building with 100-foot ceilings and a cheaply made tin roof. But that's where they do the gymnastics thing. The second thing I said is, I got a new car a few months ago, and I ain't driving it and getting hail on it. We're taking the wife's car. That's a little older. So I was thinking this through, and I'm like, number one, I got to watch the radar because I don't trust this while we're in this gym with high ceilings and no windows. And number two, I'm not getting my new car all dented up. We could drive yours. Now, when we were going there, the storms were brewing, but they were far enough west that I knew we had time to be able to get there, get back home before this thing hit. So we timed it right, got home right when the storms hit. Then the tornado sirens are going off. It started out west. It started where Pat lives. It takes the same track. Everyone we get starts out by Pat, like 45 minutes, 50 minutes west, follows the same little highway all the way into our town, does what it does, shoots out the other end to Indiana. Kent, you could try and fly to South Bend, but it's extremely hard. If not, Midway is going to be your best option in Chicago. You could try, but there's not that many affordable, good, reliable trips heading into that little South Bend. You might have to just do Midway. There's no other easy way. So we get home, the sirens are going off, and it's like, okay, we kind of expected this. There's a tornado. Where is it? We get the location. It's out by Pat. It's the normal track. Whenever we get one, it's usually that exact path. That's not that rare. That's not unique. Not that big of a deal to us. Common path, but they're usually smaller tornadoes or a microburst, which I don't even know what that is. That sounds like something a Michigan staffer pressures a lower level employee to do in the locker room. Like, I don't know what a microburst is, but that's what it sounds like to me. So we usually get those smaller ones. So we hear the sirens. I get the dogs, the kid in the basement, everything. And me and the wife are kind of looking out the window upstairs. And we're like, whatever, it looks kind of bad at. I could kind of see where the main storm is. Then we start getting texts saying, this is different. This is a real tornado. This is a big one, and it's causing damage. So it's like, okay, what do people mean by that? Like, more and more messages coming in like, dude, people's houses are gone. This is a major tornado. It's on the other side of town, though. I'm on the edge of the storm. The tornado was on the other side of this front, and I'm kind of on the back side of the whole rotating storms, right? So I'm kind of on the other edge of it, right? And so we start getting these messages. It's big. It's the real deal. Like, look out. Like, this is not the normal. Okay. So then we start getting the hail. I didn't get baseball, softball size. A lot of people literally got softball size hail. I've seen the pictures just flying through windshields, just flying through cars, shattering everything. I think that's what probably destroyed my old high school, is that hail hitting sideways in all the glass windows. They said the roof's gone too. I'm going to go check it out when I get out of here. But softball size hail, we had golf ball size hail, egg size hail. You looked in your yard, it looked like 1 million golf balls plugged into it green. Like, it would just go in the mushy where it was raining, and they would just stick in the ground. Some people got literally softball, baseball size hail. Absolutely wild. And you guys are being funny. And so we get the message, this thing's really big and is destroying neighborhoods and houses on the other side of town. So what I did is I knew where that storm was and where the tornado path was. By that time, I knew unless it changed, we were going to miss it. Like, it wasn't going to hit our house. By the path they said it was going, I knew we were going to miss the angle of the intercept. So once you had the hail on the outer band, okay, you had the hail on the outer band. Then the hail stops and it gets real calm, just like the movies. Just like the movies. Super calm. The rain stopped. The hail stopped. The wind stopped. At that point, I went outside and climbed on the pool deck so I could be up over the fence line and everything, because all of that storm stuff stopped. And so by that time, I knew we missed the main part of this, but we were within that circle of it enough to where you get that crazy calm. And so I'm on the pool deck looking, I'm saying, based off where they're saying the path is, this thing should be clearing town and I should see it off the back end angling to Indiana. So I'm thinking to myself, if this is as big as what they're saying, I should be able to see it on the back part of our neighborhood on an angle after it hits town, going into the country, crossing the border. So I keep looking. We're in that calm, no hail, no wind, everything totally still. It was real freaky. And then you could see that thing move into Indiana off the back porch. You know what it looked like? By this time, there was so much debris picked up and everything. It wasn't like a defined funnel. It was so picked up debris with dirt and wood and everything else. It just looked like a huge patch of black at the bottom because it had so much stuff kind of sucked up in it. Here's what stood out to me the most. Number one is the weather changes of everything being totally calm when you're in that circle. It felt like a power vortex where all of the energy in the atmosphere was in that tornado, and around the edges, there was nothing left. That's what it felt like to me, because there was just no juice. It was all that destruction, but where I was totally calm. The outer bands had the hail. When you're in the radius, it was totally calm and very weird. Very weird. Here's what it reminded me of. This is going to make you laugh. Have you guys ever been to a Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville restaurant? And I don't know if they all have them, but there's that annoying cyclone spinning thing on the roof where on the hour they make new margaritas and the whole thing spins on the roof. That's what it looked like. That's exactly what the top of it looked like to me. We had the green sky, and it looked like there was so much debris on the main part. All I could see was the green sky and the top clouds. They were rotating, and that's the number one thing it reminded me of, is that spinny hurricane drink thing they have at Jimmy Buffett. But man, by the time it got by me, we were safe. That changes the dynamic. Once you know it's by you, it changes it. And again, people are asking why I didn't storm chase it. It was tough timing. You can't go storm. It's not smart to go chasing a tornado with the 5-year-old in the car. So we had to leave gymnastics and get home to make sure we could get in the basement. And by the time we got in, the storm was hitting. We didn't really have a lot of time for me to be able to do all that. So that happens. So out the backside, I see that thing. When it's cleared us, I know we're safe. It's heading to Indiana. Then we start calling and messaging our people that we know that live in that area. Like making sure the people we knew that lived in that path were okay. Some of them have some damage. I don't know anybody that got their whole house leveled, but there are full neighborhoods out by the river that are totally leveled, high school, whatever else. So it was just wild. We're not used to that. I'm going to go out today and go see exactly what's going on and around town, what the damage is. Yeah, Pat's talking about I don't like these things at night. This one hit around dusk, but it was still daylight out. You could see it. you can't mess with the ones at night because other than the lightning, there's just no way to see it. I called the tornado into the non-emergency 911 before at like 11 at night, only because I was looking out the window and in the lightning provided a silhouette that I could see the cone and the funnel and everything. You don't want to be messing with these things at night. You just can't see what you're getting. You just can't see what you're getting. John, you're fired. Your storm chasing career is over already. I'm telling you, the idea of storm chasing sounds fun as long as it isn't your house on the chopping block. Like, I don't want that for anybody, but it's very different to be like in another state. And as long as you don't get hit, you don't worry about it. So I don't know. Pat, according to the reports, this thing was on the ground for over an hour. It was massive, continued tornado, hundreds of miles. It cut a path right from all the way through, went right to Indiana. So that's the deal with the tornado. It was the real deal. Like, I'm just not used to that. I'm just not used to that. So it was a wild, exciting night. A wild, exciting night. So that's my story, man. That's all I got. That's it. So here you go. Here's a picture of it when it passed, got to the outskirts. And then two little cultural references. The first one you're going to get. The second one, you got to be an old G to understand the second one. Obviously, Landau wasn't the tornado strength and conditioning coach. Telling you, it was maintaining for a long time. I think it might have been. But see if who could get both of these references.
It's a twister. It's a twister.
I'll give it to you one more time. I want to see the first person in the chat that gets both cultural references from this tornado.
It's a twister. It's a twister.
Let's see who's an old G, because you only going to be an old G to get the second part. Some of you will get it right away. Some of you would get it right away. Yeah, the tornado was heard screaming, son of a buck, on the twister. D-Lo got it. Yeah, crying belly, you guys are good. And does everybody know the first parts from The Wizard of Oz? I love that movie. Nobody talked crap about The Wizard of Oz. That was a cultural thing. It was just a part of our childhood. And what a big deal it was. Hell yeah, D-Lo. Obviously, it's Twister. Okay, some of you guys got it. Man, that's a hard-hitting song when that bass hits. Ooh. Ooh. Wizard of Oz. Nobody talked crap about the Wizard of Oz. I still maintain that witch is the best bad guy character of all time. Tell me another bad guy character better than the Wicked Witch. There's two that people bring up. It can't be Darth Vader. It's best villain of all time. It can't be Darth Vader. And the reason why is I don't even understand the plot of Star Wars. Therefore, Darth Vader's not that scary to me because I don't even understand what's going on in these magical galaxies. I have no idea. It can't be that because I can't even know what the guy is or whatever. A witch. Everybody can relate to a witch. That's why she's number one. It was absolutely perfect as a bad guy character. Everybody knows, a kid and an old person relates to a wicked witch. That's number one. But Darth Vader, people put up there, no, because you got to understand Star Wars. You have to have extra knowledge of stuff to value what that character is. Everybody 3 years old to 93 knows what a witch is. You know what I'm saying? So Darth Vader can't be it. Here's the other one I get. Jaws. That's a good argument because there's an objective like fear humans have of getting eaten by a shark. I will put Jaws up there. Okay? I'll put Jaws up there. There's just an innate human fear of getting eaten alive out there. So I'm going to give you maybe the Jaws, okay? So I'm going to give you that one. Here's the link unless anybody else wants to join. Hannibal Lecter's a good one, but again, I'm thinking about Wicked Witch applies to everybody. Like Hannibal Lecter, you got to be into that kind of movie and know that movie like a Wicked Witch stands forever. Sly says Sharknado. The next tornado, I recall, there better be some sharks in there. The next one that I follow, I want to see some sharks. Silence of the Lambs is overrated. I'm going to tell the characters played beautifully. Perfect guy, perfect role, perfect creep level, everything about it. That role was nailed 100%. 100%. So I like that character in that movie, especially when he's got the mask on and they wheel him in there in that gurney. I love that, man. Creepy, super creepy. Here's the other one. It's getting to be this time of year. I like that damn Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movie with Jennifer Aniston in 92, 93. It's pretty much my alter ego. I love those Leprechaun movies. You kidding me? I love that little guy, man. Little gals shouldn't look for four-leaf clovers. I love that creepy little leprechaun. The witch wasn't actually wicked. You could see a comparison between, don't get me going with this Star Wars stuff. Don't get me going on the Star Wars stuff. I don't understand it. I'm not smart enough to understand it. I'll never understand it. I don't get it. Different galaxies, all this stuff. I can't follow it. We're just making up planets, making up galaxies for no reason at all. There's a Roomba vacuum that's helping and a Sasquatch in space. The movie concept makes no sense. It makes no damn sense. I can't watch a movie and take it seriously when we're fighting in these imaginary galaxies and there's a robot's doing it and a Sasquatch is with them, but nobody knows why. I can't. It's too much. You're just pushing I can't get there. I can't get there. An evil leprechaun, I can get that. I understand the concept. What do you think the Wizard of Oz does? It makes up an alternate place you magically travel to by a tornado. That at least ties into my reality that I understand what a tornado is and your house could get sucked up in it. I have no earthly concept, all these galaxies they're fighting in Star Wars. And what's the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek? Seems like the same thing to me. A nerd show where we're in outer space fighting stuff. I've never even understood the difference between that. Star Wars, Star Galaxy. The only people I knew that were into Star Trek growing up were nerds. At school, the only people that watched Star Trek were the nerdiest kids in the entire school. I have no idea what that's about. No idea what that's about. Anyways, we're getting way off the track. Okay. Crying Belly's coming up. We're going to do a couple of these chats. Then we'll do Crying Belly. Everybody else, we're coming. We're coming. You are a nerd. I'm a nerd with certain things, Pat. I'll give you that. I'm a nerd, but only in certain ways. This is good. Pat said he heard Lou said, after I die, people realize I haven't risen from the dead 3 days later. Everybody will forget about me because I'm not Jesus, and that's the way it should be. That would be the thought process and emotional and mental state of a guy that just gets it. He just gets it. The whole thing. The Notre Dame thing, the spirituality thing, your place in the grander universe and the scheme of things. That's a guy who just gets it. In a world with a lot of people who don't. In a world with a lot of people who don't. Sly, this is good advice. Good morning, Always Irish Nation. Glad you escaped the tornado. Sounds like you wouldn't have had to go too far to chase one like you wish for. Be careful what you ask for. Little too close to home. The other advantage I would have, if there was more of them of this excitement level in this area, is I know all the roads. That's a big advantage when you're chasing a tornado, when you know each road and where it goes and how far it goes. When you're visiting somewhere else doing this, you're totally relying on GPS. Here, I at least knew the back roads of where you could go to see what. I missed out. I got a new vlogging camera and everything. I missed out. Softball size hail was crazy. People were sending me texts. Their cars are just shattered. It just goes right through. It was amazing. It was amazing. Nature, man. Here's what it makes you realize. These things are important sometimes because they remind you, as much as humans like to act like we can control everything, there's some things we don't have control over that are bigger than us. And I think that's a very important lesson for us to be occasionally reminded of. For as much as humans think they control things, there's some things bigger than us. This is also why I have a distant respect for the ocean. The vastness, how it just eats people up, eats ships up, how deep and dangerous. That's why I have that respect for the ocean. I don't like going in that thing. You all know I almost died doing this snorkeling. I don't mess with that ocean, but I have a lot of respect for it. A lot of respect for it. John, what's your number one experience as the number one Notre Dame football follower in your era? Probably being at the Indiana playoff game. It was the highest level this program's achieved in my adulthood. There were other moments. Being at the 2012 Stanford goal line stand game with Pat was a big deal or whatever. But when I look at all of it, you can't say Bush push because we lost. As magical as that all felt, you lost. It can't be Bush push. It's probably got to be the Indiana playoff game because it was the highest level that program's reached in my adulthood. And it was making history, and I was able to be there with my dad for it. That's probably it for me. My pick is when you almost fell from the top of the bleachers. I had an ex-girlfriend that reminded me of a tornado. She took all my stuff and scattered it in the yard when we broke up. Oh, that's good. Crying Belly, good morning. What's up?
How's it going, bro, Chacho?
Hey, man, it was a wild night, but we're good. We're in one piece.
Yeah, I'm glad you and your family are safe, man. So I called because I haven't called in a while, and, because there's nothing really to talk about right now. But lately, I've had this recurring thought about Notre Dame football I wanted to present to you in the chat.
By the way, wait a second.
What's up?
Wait, but before we even do this, is your avatar meant to trigger everybody? Come on, man. You know what you're doing.
It's a beautiful man, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
so my question for you guys is, to what extent is our perception of Marcus Freeman and hopes for a championship next year diluted by 2024's playoff run? Because when you stand back and look at everything Marcus has accomplished, 3 out of the 4 years were busts. And I think I don't know, we're sort of hitching our wagon to success of 1 year.
I understand where you're coming from with this. I do. So let's break this down. Do you have a minute to break this down in a couple pieces?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here's the first question I have for you. Do you have any flexibility for the first couple years of a new coach, a brand new coach, not a new one in Notre Dame, but a new one overall? Do you have any flexibility for the first couple years of rebuilding the roster, learning how to be a head coach, making your mistakes, figuring it out, trying to flip the roster? The staff was in flux the first couple years. Do you have any weighted flexibility of how you gauge those first couple years in that way?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think you have to be flexible with that. I mean,
well, you just called them busts. So that's what makes me ask that, because technically you're right. but I do think there's probably some understanding and flexibility on the early end of the tenure. But you called them busts because on paper they are. But I just think that there's like an understanding this was going to take a little while.
I guess just for me, there's a pattern with Marcus that I think we all have identified so far is repeated mistakes that have been crippling to the team. Like, okay, for example, in 2024, throughout the playoff, if you can recall, our offense had scrambled and could barely put up any points in the biggest game still. And if it wasn't for that comeback against Ohio State, I think that loss could go down as similar to 2012 Alabama, honestly. I mean, it was like 31-7 at one point. But my point being is like, okay, so Marcus learns in the 2024 playoff we need an offense, right? And then the biggest games of the year, A&M and Miami, particularly Miami, it looks like the Penn State game to me all over again. It looks like the Ohio State national championship game all over again, where the offense starts slow. They're scrambling for their life and they have to, overcome great barriers for some crazy comeback win. And this is a recurring mistake Marcus has made, similar to the way he lost to NIU after losing to Marshall and Stanford years ago. So I just wonder to what extent is like, I don't know. Goolsby talks a lot on the Patreon, which is great, by the way, about how Riley Leonard was a hero. My thought on that is like, how much of 2024 was Marcus's great coaching, or how much of it was a great quarterback with great running backs and a great defense? That's my perspective. And then
Okay,
and then
wait, all
I
right.
think it's
This is good.
premature to call ourselves favorites.
This
And
is
it's
good.
hard to unpack it. I feel like I could unpack it better, but
This is
I'm
a
sort of
healthy dynamic. But here's the thing, though. How are we getting into a position where anything bad that's happened, Freeman has to own, but then when the good things happen, it must be because of the players and he doesn't get credit? Like what I'm saying is it's got to be both. If you're going to criticize him on the downside stuff, he's got to get credit when things did go good. Like I can't be like, oh yeah, he
yeah.
failed the first couple years, and then the only reason we made a playoff run is because this player did some. If you're going to criticize on the negative, you got to give him on the positive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I guess my thing is, you know, penciling in a national championship next year just seems premature because I think Freeman still has a lot to prove. Yeah, as much as we were robbed by the playoff committee in 2025, he still went 10-2. I mean, I just wonder if he's past the inexplicable losses
Yeah,
and
fair question. The September slip ups, fair question.
right, everything like that. And I think there's still a lot to prove with him. And I've also noticed he has an issue. He has a problem dealing with success. Have you noticed that?
Ooh,
He,
that's good. Walk that out for me. Walk that out in your mind. That's a good point.
I feel like he gets too big for his britches and almost overconfident. Um, for example, uh, going around the NFL and poking his nose in different teams and trying to get a job in the NFL. I feel like if he was self-aware, he would know that he has a lot to learn before he's an NFL coach. But the other thing is the messaging that he did before Miami, where it was the SAS. I won't say it out for the sake of your monetization, but he struggled to deal with the playoff success and all the expectations. And I feel like he really made an effort to quell the ego after the playoff run with that corny motto during the fall camp before Miami, and it aged poorly, obviously. But it's something about him when there's expectations, it never pans out.
Man, there's a lot of nuance.
Oh,
in a title. Nobody's penciling it in, but I am saying I think the ingredients are there that this team should be able to make a run at it. I'm
yeah.
not who's penciling it in. Like, haven't we all learned our Notre Dame lessons in the last 30 years that right when you start to relax and think we got it under control, that's when the worst thing happens?
I just think a lot of people, there's been a notion going around lately where it's like, I like being the favorite going into 2026. I don't like being the favorite because I do think Marcus has a history of not dealing well with expectations. It's always in where he's overcoming, like it almost takes him being humiliated for him to galvanize his team. You know, you saw that with the comeback after NIU. You saw that with the Clemson win after Stanford, right? Like,
I think that's a fair point by you of like, you can't only turn it on and really get it all focused after disaster happens. You need to do that to prevent disaster from happening. I think I agree with that.
but it's just like the first time I called in, maybe it was the second time I called in, like, you can't keep giving the same runaround about how, like, we got to go 11-1 from here on out. We have to win every game. It's do or die or whatever because we got humiliated once. And then that humiliation in the media is what propels you to do better. I feel like, I don't know. I just think Marcus doesn't do well when there's expectations on him to go undefeated or for him to be a champion or winning a championship like we all hope or think he has, a good chance of doing this coming season. So I'm just a little skeptical going into the next season, given his history of having to be humiliated first before making a good football team.
I
Does that
think
make sense?
that's a fair point by you. But let me ask you this. If you're asking like, it feels like it's extra with the positivity and the hype and everything. And let me ask you honestly, is this not by far the most talent that's been in the Notre Dame program, like in the modern era, and it's not even close, top to bottom on the roster? Like, do you agree that that work that's been done, they now have like one of the most talented teams in America? Are you with that, or do you push back on that? Do you think that narrative is media driven and not fact?
Um, Well, there's a few things. I think a lot of that is based on the return of CJ Carr, and he showed us some good things in 2025 for sure. And I've defended him in the Patreon chat and everything like that. But I do think he has a lot to show. I think Mike has a great point when he talks about what does CJ look like when everything is on his shoulders now, right? Um, Something about his makeup still worries me about some of those stories that came out about fall camp last year and him maybe sort of having the yips or whatever. But I do think we have a lot to learn about CJ, particularly how he performs in big games, which unfortunately we won't get another sample of until the playoffs next year if we do make it. Because, well, I guess we have Miami on the schedule and BYU. So there's some games on the schedule. We're gonna have to wait a bit to see how he performs in those games. But also, I do think that the roster is very talented and everything. But I don't think, I also thought in 2023 we had good talent too. It was Sam Hartman. And look how that turned out. You know what I mean? I think the talent in 2022 was better than losing to Marshall and Stanford. And look how that turned out. I just think there's something like the fall camp needs to be under a microscope going
That's
into
fair.
this next season.
I
There,
believe that part is totally fair. And that came up on Raw Monday night with Mike too. If there's one thing you got to tweak or whatever, I think they need to do a more intense job of scrutinizing and testing exactly what they have at every position in camp. And you got exposed and you didn't do a good job of that last year. It can happen again. And I don't know if that's one-on-one, best on best physical scrimmages where you're risking injury or whatever. I don't know what it needs to look like, but they need
Right.
to do a better job self-evaluating in August, and I feel firm on that.
Right. Right.
Okay, can I push back on you on one other part of this? Because I've seen this from a few
Yeah,
different
man.
people, not just today, but this discussion and others. And it's kind of bothering me, okay?
Okay.
Here's one thing. This is a healthy discussion in the offseason. Thank you for calling.
I'm really happy to be hashing this out with you.
I like this. Here's where what I've seen. The further we get away from the playoff run, I'm starting to see it getting devalued a little bit. Oh,
Mhm.
it's all that one good year he had. And like, okay, you beat Georgia with an injured quarterback, and James Franklin's a choker, and Indiana wasn't title level Indiana or whatever. I feel like I'm seeing some people losing value in that playoff run. It's like, well, it was just 1 year. You also have to keep in perspective where Notre Dame's been the last 25 years. I can't just throw away the most postseason success we've had in 35 years that all happened in like 3 weeks in a row like it's nothing.
Right.
Like, I value that. That to me, that's not a throwaway. Like, oh, you had the one year where you won more major postseason games in a 3-week span than the whole program's won in 40 years, but it's no big deal.
Right.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you that it is a big deal, and there's no denying the magic of that run. I mean, I was at the Indiana game. That was amazing. It was like the best experience I've had at Notre Dame Stadium my entire life. But when you reflect on it sort of objectively, and you really look at how the teams played and were prepared, I think it was kind of a mess still. It was sort of like this just fighting for your life look. I mean, think of how clunky we looked the first half against Penn State, the first half against Ohio State, and then that even bled through into next season in the first half against Miami. I think there's something going on with slow starts that needs to be hashed out for sure. I guess I'm like nitpicking, but it didn't look like a fine-tuned operation. It kind of looked like some Notre Dame slop, we're all cheering for the guy like running through and stuff. I mean, it just wasn't, I don't know. It didn't look super manicured or refined, which goes back to my point of like how much of it was hard-nosed Riley Leonard just getting the job done, or how much of it was, Freeman and co. and stuff.
A lot of the things you're bringing up, I think that it's not unfair. But I feel like the microscope here that we're like the gauge we're judging against is winning a title now. And that makes the scrutiny very, very intense and specific
Mhm.
because it's not like you're rebuilding. Maybe you could get to 9 wins this year. Like you're analyzing it through a microscope of like getting the title. So like, I do think it's fair to nitpick some very specific things because you're talking about winning a title, not winning 10 games.
Mhm.
So I do think it's fair to analyze at that deep level, but how do you balance that out with the guy is won more elite things and has a better roster than we've had in the modern era, and like that's a blessing. So like I get wanting to critique him through a championship eye, but you also got to realize you're still in the best place you've been in 40 years.
Yeah.
So how do you
Yeah.
balance those?
Well, I think we are like, I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to pop the balloon or whatever, but we talk about how talented the roster is. I think it is very talented. But it brings me to another point I had, which was the transfer portal additions. I don't know how in love I am with the 2 wide receivers we have. I am in Ohio and I love to see the Buckeyes suffer. So I'm very happy to steal 2 of their receivers, but maybe it's another thing. It's like, to what extent is our perception of Graham and Porter diluted by the fact that we were able to get undergrad transfers in? How effective are these dudes really going to be in an offense year one?
Totally
That's my
fair.
thing. I feel like
Totally fair.
it smells of hype and then an inevitable disappointment to
Totally
me.
fair.
But maybe I'm just cynical. I mean, I'm crying belly after all. I
But
just
that part, that Dr. John is late, but here, Doc, you missed my entire tornado story. You're gonna have to go back and watch it. This argument is totally fair. upside potential with those guys is through the roof. But you gotta see it to believe it. I don't think they even have 10 catches combined so far in college. The potential for this wide receiver group to be very different than the ones we've had that got hyped up and then underperform year after year after year, but they get pumped up every August. This one has high level potential, but only if one or both of those guys hit. It's wait and see, but the chance of it happening is a lot higher this year than with the talent we've had a lot of other years. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I'd take Fields over the two guys. I would take Malachi Fields over the two guys. I would take the skill talent last year over what we added in the portal this season. In Love and Price, obviously, and then Malachi Fields over the receivers. I think the offense will be serviceable. I think Mike Denbrock is dependable. I just with those two guys, it's like, all right, we gave these two dudes that were completely unproven big NIL deals, I presume, to come here. Like, how much are they ripping us off? How much are are these guys actually going to produce? Because, I mean, this is the first time we're experiencing it as Notre Dame fans, but this story has been written in so many other programs about these undergrad transfer portals that come for big deals and then, flame out.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair. Wait and see there. You are right though. When you look at Freeman's tenure, it is kind of weird. If you're like, okay, the first couple years we have leeway because he's a new coach, figuring it out, flipping the roster, flipping the staff, whatever. That's rough. We kind of understand. Mm-hmm. Then you add your year 3 hit that is historical at Notre Dame of coaches that end up succeeding here. That year 3 is a good year.
Right.
So you make the run, but you don't win it all. And then last year was like a failure because you lost the 2 toughest games, but you also feel like you did maybe kind of deserve a chance to make that playoff over other teams. That all leads to this year being really weird. Like, it is a prove it type dynamic. Like you're saying with this schedule, that's totally fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just, and it's unfortunate.
Wait, Andrew, you think 1 year is, so let me get this straight, Andrew. 1 year is all you need to learn how to be a head coach in major college football.
Andrew's up there. Hey, get Andrew in the chat. We should talk.
You get 1 year to learn how to be a head coach at this level, and then everything needs to be like up to that's tough, man. You can't flip a roster in 1 year. 1 year is not enough to flip a roster. And
you should bring Andrew in with me.
Brian, I don't know if this is sarcasm or not. The biggest lie of the Kelly era was that he left Notre Dame a title contending roster. Totally not true. I will push back on that till the cows come home. Not true.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair. I mean, it certainly was. The first year was sort of, I mean, I wouldn't say a raw deal for Marcus because they certainly, it's an honor for him to be selected as a first-time head coach to lead Notre Dame. So it's not a raw deal, but the talent on the roster outside of Mayer, Foskey, I can't even think of anybody else right now. There was really nobody else on that team that was a star player, and then Tyler Buckner gets injured, and you got Drew Pine and everything. So I get it. I mean,
Andrew says, John, you sound like Freeman's spokesperson. There is no one, I don't even believe Andrew believes this, that you think in 1 year, a guy could totally flip a roster and a coaching staff under what he wants and totally learn everything you need to know to be an effective head coach in 1 year. And then in year 2, you have all that figured out. That's unrealistic. That's just unrealistic. I don't even believe it's physically possible to accomplish those things.
I mean, look, we had Joe Alton, Blake Fisher and stuff, but our wide receiver 1 was a dude playing corner part-time at Ohio State for the last 2 or 3 years or whatever, and he couldn't catch the ball. I don't know if Andrew actually believes that, but I'll leave it alone.
And then here's the other thing. This is a good question I was going to ask you. Okay, we're going to nitpick Freeman's shortcomings or whatever else. Who is realistic that you would have preferred Notre Dame hired instead of him at the time in that hiring cycle? who would it have been? That's the other thing. This is
Yeah,
not all in a vacuum. You got to look at the whole landscape.
for
At
sure.
that time, who else would have had Notre Dame in a better position now in that cycle? There are some people here that were pushing for Luke Fickell over Marcus Freeman, and he
Yeah,
can't
no
even
way.
win a game at Wisconsin. So, like, who would it have been if you didn't want Freeman that would have been better by now?
No, and I think that's a great point. And I've been negative towards Freeman. That's sort of my shtick in this chat, like the last few years since he got hired. But when the job did come open, I was totally on board with the Freeman train. I mean, I think, and not to say he's a failure or anything. I just think like, all right, guys, there's still more we have to see before we get our hopes up so high for next season because we might be disappointed. I mean, really just take a step back and look at what we're hitching our expectations to. You know what I mean? It's the magic of that playoff run. And my question is it was it lightning in a bottle or was it something sustainable? Um that's
Yeah, that question's fair on the surface. It's just that question's fair on the surface, and I just think missing the playoff last year, there's a lot of pressure this year.
it sucks.
Not just making it isn't good enough. You got to win multiple. You got to win. I mean, everybody's gonna be disappointed if you don't win the championship, but you got to make a run in this playoff for this to be a successful year by any measure. With this schedule and year 5, this needs to be a deep run or it's failure guaranteed.
All right, John, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Mike Denbrock?
Okay, but I still think he has more to prove. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a built-in trust for a guy that's on his 3rd go around at Notre Dame and familiarity. Like I think he gets some credit, whether it's due or not, from the familiarity of him being a Notre Dame guy in his 3rd go around. But you could argue that he needs to have a big year, and without Love and Price, more's going to depend on what he comes up with. So I think
sure.
good, but like maybe a little over credited because of the familiarity and people like him in Notre Dame circles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. To me, Denbrock, he's good. I often wonder if he's overhyped, like you said, maybe. Like his offenses are, especially since he got back to Notre Dame in this stint, it's just like the definition of serviceable. You know what I mean? They're kind of milk toast, and they function, but there's nothing like exciting. And I just wonder if he's going to take another step this year, or if we're going to see like the same stop routes they've been throwing for 2 years now. Again, I don't know. And I was really disappointed in his game plan in Miami. So I think like he has something to prove too. I mean, he does have a little bit of Kelly stank to him. And we know how Brian Kelly has done in big games as well. So I just think there's some questions about him, and Chris Ash isn't, he's not a finished product either. I think it's interesting. He's hiring his buds to get in there. I think if Freeman trusts him, Freeman trusts him. But I just there's
Ryan, I'm going
something.
to tell you this. There are angles. You know the way I worry. There are angles where this thing unravels on Notre Dame next year, and it's a total disaster, and the entire framework of the Freeman thing will flip. There are angles here to where some of these issues blow up on Notre Dame, and you end up in a really bad spot where you have you got 2 losses and we're not through October yet. Like there are scenarios here where this thing does not go how anybody on the high end wants it. And then you got to start having a totally different discussion. I'm with you on that. There are angles where that could be a reality.
Right. Well, we're in La La Land with, Keon Keeley's back, and wow, we got this 300 some pounder for Oregon and 2 Ohio State receivers and everything like that. And then you reminisce a little bit on how cool it was to play Indiana 2 days before Christmas in 2024 and how we beat Georgia and Penn State, and it was so magical. And, you know, we had that awesome comeback against Ohio State, but it wasn't quite enough. And next year's the year, you know,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
some sort of ultimate, you know, it's God's plan because, you know, we were uh pushed out unfairly out of the playoff in
Speaking of
25.
God's plan, crying, I was thinking about that last night after I got my daughter down to bed and everybody, the storms calmed down. Talking about God's plan, man. I was sitting there thinking, why did that tornado miss my neighborhood and it was on the other side of town? Like if it was 2 minutes the other way, my house is leveled. Like, anyways, it's a bigger
Yeah,
existential thing I think
that
about.
is
Of like,
scary.
why did the other side of town, where I actually looked at houses before I ended up in this one, why did that part get leveled and mine is fine? Like, I've thought of, talk about God's will.
Yeah, nothing like Catholic superstition, my man.
Yeah, no kidding. So dude, some, like, I understand a lot of what you're saying. Don't you agree? I think Notre Dame fans would prefer to focus on what it could be on the high end than to sit there and worry themselves into an early grave. But a lot of the things you're bringing up are totally fair.
Yeah,
Um, and they are things to consider. But within that framework, I think we also need to start the consideration at a level of, under this guy, we've achieved the most we have in 40 years. And I believe we have the most talent in this program we've had in 40 years, top to bottom on the roster. And like, so any judging of anything is within the framework of already acknowledging we're at a level we haven't been at in 40 years.
right, right. You know, and I think the momentum is palpable. Again, it's just what does Freeman do with the momentum? Does he capitalize on it, or does he, you know, does he fail under the pressure? You
You are
know, like
so right. Dude, this year is the measuring stick. This is a big year for this. You are totally right about like and missing the playoff and all that. Like it's year 5, so you don't have like I'm a new coach type thing in year 5. You
right.
are right when you combine it with this lighter schedule.
I just feel like, you know, John, we say a lot of things are Notre Dame, and that's definitely a thing. I just think each season with Marcus Freeman so far has had something that goes beyond like being Notre Dame to the point where it's like a Marcus Freeman signature. You know what I mean? Like his DNA is over the trajectory of some of these. And that's what I mean about these early losses and how he needs them to propel him to get his team together and to start playing well. Because it feels like every year, with the exception of 2023, maybe, the team looks like crap when they come out. And that's a Marcus Freeman thing. I feel like it's beyond just being Notre Dame. Um, yeah. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking in circles. Do you have any other
No,
questions for
this
me
was,
before I go?
I think this is cathartic and this is healthy. You're not really doing it in a trolling way. Like, I think you're sincere about your
For
worries.
sure.
And I think a lot of them are fair. But there's a lot of nuance with
Right.
looking at it in the big picture and what else is going on in the sport and like whatever else. So you bring up fair points.
Yep.
This thing could turn sideways on Notre Dame early, and we're having a whole different discussion. And I guarantee you, people are going to come on my show and go, Marcus, maybe you should start interviewing for the NFL. Like, you know what it's going to be if Notre Dame's got 2 losses by late October, right? So I'm just saying, like, there are ways this thing turns on us, and you guys, it's
Yeah.
all got to come together. It's year 5. Put it all
Yeah.
together.
So I'll leave you with this. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. I know I'm a troll and I'm usually, you know, saying mean, nasty things to people in the comments. It's in good fun, but I'm just, you know, taking these different angles on the conversation because I think it's important to have a little bit of, I don't know, add a
Balance.
little bit of reality to the
Yeah,
mix. And it's just something to think about, you know, something to chew on. The next time you daydream about Notre Dame.
that's
Um,
fair.
Anyways, John, I'm happy you and your family safe. Have a good one, my man.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for always being around and being on the Patreon and everything. Appreciate it. It's a cathartic call. I thought that was healthy. Thank you.
Yep. Peace.
Have a good one. Crying is a lot more like his online persona doesn't match when he calls because he actually puts together like good thoughts. I thought that was a healthy conversation. It's just like I see ways this thing could spiral. How can you say that, John, when Freeman's yet to run the table at home? It's an honest question. Because running the table at home is not my gauge of the highest level the program's been in 40 years. It's have you won any postseason games that anybody cares about? Whether you lose some dumb games at home or not, you should. Yeah, I don't want you to do that, and you shouldn't do that. But that's not my gauge of how I gauge the highest level the program's been at in 40 years. Marcus Freeman won more postseason games that matter in a 3-week span than the whole program's won in 40 years. That's my gauge. That's my gauge. Yet the home losses are a problem. But that's not that doesn't eliminate the other stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind.
No, just top four. Cuatro y cuatro en cada una, no. Yo, what's up? John, are you there?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Oh, sorry, brother. I didn't even know you.
I understand you.
What's up?
That dude. Oh, he says things about me in my contract. And sometimes I go off because. But he had a really good call. He made me sorry.
I understand you.
Can you hear me?
I can't understand you.
What's up? What's up?
You're so funny, dude. Here, hold on. Hey. That dude actually made some really, really good points, man. Really good points. He sometimes gives me, he gives me a hard time and says, I'm a BYU sympathizer, and he goes after me, and I've kind of been a little, that gets to me, but he made some really, really solid points. And, you know me, I push back on CJ, not because I don't like the kid, but because I really want to see him succeed and bring us that title. Now, he made some points about Riley Leonard. How much was it of Riley Leonard? He said, I'm going to push back on that. That's true, because I'm not a big Denbrock fan either. Like I told Mikey Pools and I kind of got into it because to me, he hasn't showed me anything different than what Tommy Reese has really showed me, especially with those RPOs. Now, what he's done with the athletes he's had is pretty impressive. Now, I'll probably get pushback from that. That's okay. I still love you guys. But the one pushback that I'm going to do about Riley Leonard, bringing in that dude is part of coaching. Now, if it is all Riley Leonard and it was more him than Denbrock, bringing in that dude to have that, like, never say die, pick up my nuts. We're going to go into this dark alley. We're going to battle together for you. Not all dudes have that. And when you're coaching sometimes, and anybody who's coached or played, you know that there's dudes that they'll shut down if things aren't going right. And it's like, what happened? What happened? You know, and you got to ask them, like, hey, man, the dudes, they're not responding out there. You know what I mean? And that is part of coaching. And he can talk about Marcus. We all know Marcus is a slow starter. He has started slow, and he's got to get over that because, you know, it costed us, obviously, the title run. But in his first year, he lost by a combined number of like 30-something points. Didn't we get smoked in the national title by 40-something points? So we got smoked in one game in a 4-loss game in Marcus's first year with to me, like I tell you, with having Manti, one of the best college football players to ever step on the field of college football. And I mean that team was actually, man, yeah, they weren't gonna beat that Alabama team, but if you were that much of an offensive genius and your defense didn't show up, you know, he should have done he should have countered everything Alabama threw at him. Either way, the dude had really good points. I really actually liked his call. But Marcus has never been blown out. We don't go into those games. Ahí, homie, ahí. I thought, we don't go into these games fearing that we're going to get blown out. I think it's natural Notre Dame anxiety that we have. Like, let's see how this goes because everybody brings their A game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, John?
Hey, I'm with you. The things he's bringing up are things that are fair to think about and fair to present as an argument and to consider. I just feel like there's a lot of hope and belief that Notre Dame is beyond in year 5. Notre Dame's going to be beyond some of those problems that he referenced, and you need to be, or year 5 is going to be a massive disappointment.
No, yeah, he did. Like I said, he had a really amazing call. I got nothing really to push back on other than to make some comments on the things he said. You know, as far as like, you know, the Riley Leonard, the Brian Kelly thing, and those things. But one thing I will agree with him on though is we don't know what these underclassmen transfers are gonna bring. We don't. You
Fair.
know. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
Yeah, we don't. He has a good point there, and everybody has a game plan till you get punched in the mouth. But the one thing I will say to counter that a little bit, every single one of we got to trust Freeman in the development because did not Lorenzo Styles play for the national title 2 years ago against us, and he started? Did not Pat Coogan play for the national title? I think that the evaluation needs work, but I think that definitely the development is there, especially more now so with Charlie Partridge being an actual D line coach, and Henry being a straight DB and not wondering if these guys are leaving, if they're not leaving. Like these dudes, I think Luis said it best. People are lining up to play to coach at Notre Dame. It's a different feel there. It's a different atmosphere. Now, Johnny, obviously, you know that, and let's look at it in this manner. If and he talked about, oh yeah, we made the playoff, kind of digging that season, taking a jab at the season, but that was the first year of that format. By the third game, he would have won the national title, right, John?
Yeah,
Right? But by the third game, he would have won the national title. After
yeah.
Penn State, that would have been the national title game.
The further we get away from it, the more I find people trying to minimize it. It's only because George had the quarterback injury and James Franklin's a choker and Indiana wasn't at that level yet. Like, I just have a hard time diminishing the best season Notre Dame's had in 40 years.
John, me and you are 2 years apart. I'm a little older than you, but I'm still built like a tank, John. That's why I send you those workouts, buddy. Hey, but anyways, what you've gone through, I've gone through. It's like what I said. You had the misery of watching the Bush push live. I had the misery of watching it when I was locked up. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, we've been through it. The difference is though about him taking away from that season, the best season in 30 years, is that we've seen Crying Belly or Swamp Ass, excuse me, for 12 years win one game against a big time opponent, and that's with Oklahoma, and that was a downward Oklahoma team, not one of the better ones, and really that's really all you can say, and numbers are numbers, man, but the numbers that mattered to me was that we got blown out every single big game, and like me, root for them whether we lose, root for them whether we win, root for them in the Sun Bowl, root for them in the national title. That's true, but that's all we really had the luxury of is saying, hey, well, at least they beat LSU in the Pine Stripe Bowl. And hey, over an SEC team is an SEC team. But
Yeah.
um,
Hey, I'm with you, man. And I listen, Krein brought up some fair
yeah,
points.
he did.
Down of the list of things to worry about this year, he brought up some fair points.
Yeah, he had a very good call, man. I was actually really impressed with his call. And man, actually we agree on a lot more than we disagree on. I just don't like, and it's not that I don't like it, but naturally, yeah, like you, I'm gonna defend Freeman, especially like I said, you and I are the same age, and that's the best season Notre Dame football has had in 30 years, man. But that's what the one thing I just wanted to point out, man, is that you look at Pat Coogan, you look at Lorenzo Styles, even you look at Logan Diggs. Those are all Notre Dame guys that were there for at least a few years and had a chance to be developed by Notre Dame football staff. Now, Marcus, true, this is his 5th year head coaching, but it's his 6th year at the university. Let's not forget he was a year at DC, so he had a hand in a lot of those dudes too. So. But hey, John, I just really wanted to call and say that dude had a really good call. You know what I mean? He really did. I wanted to back up some of his points, but coaching sometimes is a lot more than just, X's and O's. It's getting the right guys and putting them in the right places, and sometimes that means having a guy like Riley Leonard that needed the legs to give us the best opportunity that we've had in 30 years, man. So,
Yeah,
hey, John.
fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, be safe out there today.
Yeah. Onward Notre Dame, John. We'll see you.
We'll see you, buddy. Thanks for joining. Tangent. Some people just quietly root for failure under the guise of questioning. There is a tinge of defeatism somewhere in certain You know what I think it is, you guys? I've thought about this. You know what I think it is? I think there's some people that really love Notre Dame, but they prepare themselves mentally and emotionally for failure to protect themselves from really genuinely thinking this year could be different and being really let down. So the bar is like expecting the bad crap to happen so as not to be really let down. I genuinely think there's some people that have just been burned, and that's their way to protect themselves, if that makes sense, rather than to get all excited about Notre Dame and then be let down. Ryan, you just missed the big debate, man. You just missed the big debate. And me talk about almost dying in a tornado. But bigger than that, you missed the debate. Let's wrap it up with JT. What's up, brother?
What's up, John? Come twist away with me.
Oh, I like that, JT. You got to bring it on the road. If you ain't America's Next Idol, it's rigged.
I think I'm too old for American Idol.
No, you got the looks and the voice of an angel.
Well, okay. Remember the point that I had made back in like January time about how I think Kurt Signetti has changed the expectation for the Power Four programs for how quickly something could get turned around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the ramifications of that sort of opinion shift in our chat right now with how everybody's treating Freeman. And we have to understand Marcus Freeman was a first-time head coach when he came to Notre Dame. Signetti had been coaching at various levels of college football for a while. So it's not a direct one-to-one comparing Signetti to Freeman, but the sort of expectation shift is now there, and we're now seeing it in our chat. So let's talk about a couple of coach firings. The first is Georgia Tech fired their basketball coach, and Georgia Tech was absolutely horrible this season. And Syracuse fired their basketball coach just today. This morning it was announced. I don't know how long Marcus Shrewsbury has before he gets that call that he's probably dreading. Now, let's talk about more positive news. As Dr. John mentioned earlier, the Notre Dame lacrosse team just got Grace Hall lit up. They're number one in the country.
JT, let me ask this. Why do you think there isn't an appetite to move on from Shrewsbury? Is it simply he has too many years on the deal? They don't want to pay whatever that buyout is?
No, it's not for too many years. It's just one more year.
I thought somebody said he had a 7-year deal or whatever, and this would be year 4. Is that not true? I don't know nothing about basketball. I should be talking about this.
Honestly, if somebody has more information than I do, then go ahead and put it in the chat and I can look at it. But from what I understood, it was a 4-year deal, and this upcoming year is year 4. But I think there just isn't an appetite for donors to sort of pay a buyout for a coach that isn't a football coach.
I'm kind of with you, man. Dude, people want Notre Dame basketball to be better, but I just don't think that many people care that deeply. I don't. I just don't. And I know we all want all Notre Dame teams to succeed. I just don't feel that there's enough impetus to do something. So I don't know, JT.
Yeah, and of course, Andrew, if you could pin that and put it up on the screen for the rest of the people to see. Like Mike Bray did leave the job, leave the cupboard bare, so to speak. Why would a big time coach want to go to Notre Dame? Well, number one, Indiana is the state of basketball in the country. We can talk about Rucker Park and the New
football
York
too, just not in South Bend.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking of the state of Indiana, not IU. The state of Indiana is basically the state of basketball. And a lot of people in the state of Indiana care about the sport of basketball. I'm not from Indiana. As everybody knows, I'm from Baltimore, but I know that in Indiana, in a lot of small towns, high school basketball is the big sporting event in those small towns. That just tells you how big the sport is in Indiana. And secondly, Notre Dame, a lot of people don't know this. Notre Dame is one of the top 10 most successful basketball programs in the NCAA Division I in terms of how many wins we have. A lot of people don't know that. And that might be something that a really good coach might want. Like, they can come into a sleeping giant and reawaken it. That might be attractive to a coach that would want to take on this big challenge. And
here's the other angle, JT. Here's the other angle I see. If this thing becomes toxic or like just such a wasteland that no established guy wants to touch it, you're going to have to identify a young and up and coming assistant and give him this as his first role and hope that it goes well. Like, that's another way you could do it. You're going to have to go to the bench of another really good program, believe in a younger coach, and let him do, like, I don't know, because Andrew's right. What established guy is appealing to a job where the team's been down and the program is the stepchild of the university? It's a fair point.
Well, Nate Oates, we can look down south to our friends in Alabama and see that Nate Oates has basically turned Alabama basketball into a powerhouse. And Alabama is a real big football school. So it can be done.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, JT, you were there for the conversation with Crying Belly. Do you have a take on that before I get out of here? What do you think about the things he's worrying about, the argumentation he presented? What do you think?
I think it's sort of okay. Marcus Freeman hasn't been there before. So this is the first time that he's ever had to really deal with this sort of thing as a leader, not as like a cog in the system player.
Yeah.
So, like, this might be version 1 of him. Like, he might have learned from this from the past year, and he can go into next year with that experience, and he can basically figure things out so that we don't lose to Food in the home opener. That's going to be probably the most emotional home opener in 30 years.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. You bring up some really good points. I thought Cryan presented his arguments in a fair way.
Yes, he did.
I get it, but there's no doubt about it. Year 5, the learning curve thing for the head coach, like the roster's flipped, the coaching's flipped, that you have a favorable schedule. This needs to be a big year. This is under the spotlight. Needs to be a big year.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, speaking of basketball, Mark with glasses isn't in the chat right now.
I think he's in counseling over what Shrewsbury's done to him. I think he's laying on the counselor's couch right now talking about Notre Dame basketball.
Well, he mentioned something in the chat about I think he was kind of joking about us starting a men's basketball podcast, but if he's actually serious about it, then I'm actually open to doing that.
Yeah, there you go. You guys need to revive Notre Dame basketball 1 week at a time. JT, I love you, buddy. Anything on the way out?
Anything? Absolutely. Baseball's really good this year. At least Notre Dame baseball is. The less said about our national baseball team last night, the better. If in case you didn't hear, we somehow, some way, I don't know how, lost to, of all things, Italy in baseball.
Yeah, I did hear that. I didn't watch it, but because I was
Mark
ducking those
Rosa
whispers.
thought that we were already advanced. So we basically rotated everybody.
Yeah, that is
But even
hilarious.
with a rotated team, we should be beating Italy by 5.
Man, yeah, that's a tough scene. I'll have to read more about it. I missed it live. JT, God bless you, and get that singing voice in shape for the American Idol. All right? I love you, buddy.
So, like I said, I will try to be at the tailgate if it actually comes to pass. I will let you know as soon as I know.
Oh, let's do it, JT. I want to get JT on a keg stand over there on film. That's what I want, man. Smoke him if you got him and get that man on a keg stand. Why do I got people in here saying Shrewsbury's on a 4-year deal, a 6-year deal, and I'm getting texts of people watching it live saying it's a 7-year deal? How hard is it to figure out how many years this guy's deal is in a sport that I don't care about? 4, 6, 7, what is it? 3, 6, 9. What? How many years is the guy's stupid ass deal? Anyways, all right, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm going to go look at some tornado damage. If I could get close enough to record anything, I will. But I have a feeling a lot of things and roads are going to be blocked off and everything. But if I can record any damage, I will, or take any pictures. I'll let you guys know. Phil, you guys are great. Thank you, guys. This was an entertaining show. You got to fill the time in the offseason any way you can, twisters or otherwise. So you guys have a good one. Thanks for being here.